Hi guys, Andy with the Exit Advisor here. I asked 5 business owners who've never sold a business what their top questions would be. So I've got 12 questions here on the board behind me. We're going to go through them one by one. If you're curious about it, stick around. So I don't want to get ripped off. Kind of a common theme really. So really, as long as you know kind of what you want for the business, what you're expecting and kind of what's been agreed, it's now just about putting those protection mechanisms in place so that you can realize all the value that you've worked for and that's been agreed. So there's a number of ways you do that. You make sure that your SPA or your sale agreement is tight. There's no sort of conditions in there that are kind of really onerous on you to perform things that you just can't perform, or that the business is required to perform things that it can't perform. Make sure that during due diligence that you're sharing the right information. And again, the common theme here is kind of communication, consistency with that. So share the information properly and have discussions around any negative aspects that may come to light during that process, and really, guarantees and warranties. As the seller, you're going to be required to provide certain sort of undertakings on the quality of the business. For example, the financial information that you share is legitimate. You haven't just made it up and said that you're turning over X and that your gross profit is 99%, because obviously that's going to expose the buyer to some risk. And so you have to provide guarantees that the information that you're giving them is correct. So make sure that the information is factual, is truthful, is wholly complete, and that kind of restricts any kind of comeback from the buyer's point of view. You will also, I can't remember if I talked about it yet, you will also be expected to provide something called disclosures. So on the kind of day of completion or previous couple of days to completion, you'll give the buyer this letter, which will have everything that is problematic within your business. And it might already be stuff in the data room, but there's this extra letter of disclosure that you share. So, for example, let's say somebody had a car accident 2 years ago. The insurance is paid out. The problem's gone away. As far as you're concerned, there was a negative thing that happened, but it's been resolved. Under the statute of limitation, they might be able to come back to you and said, well, do you know what, my neck hurts now and I've got a bit of whiplash and I'm suing you for that. So just because something negative's happened doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get price chipped or anything like that. As your business expands, it's more likely that things have gone wrong in it at some point in time, particularly in a construction or a plant hire based business. The construction industry is known for its health and safety difficulties, let's say, and as long as you make the buyer aware and you have these conversations, again, it comes back to communication. Make them aware, put it in the disclosure letter, and if it's in the disclosure letter and they've sort of signed the disclosure letter, then they can't actually come back to you, because the seller can't come back to you and look for compensation for that, because you've made them aware of it. And so really, it's just about, there's not one thing you can do. It's just about the sort of sequence of events you follow. Make sure that you get the right broker and that they're negotiating things that are in your interest. Make sure the broker is helping you during the due diligence process, making sure that you've chosen the right lawyer, that they can spot any things that you or someone else wouldn't be able to necessarily spot. Make sure you get the right tax advice. It's just every step of the way, just kind of thinking about ways to mitigate your risk.